So light doesn't go at a uniform speed in the universe. It really depends on the type of medium that it is traveling through. Like always, it needs, if we're tracking a visual light, it needs a medium to go through. Now, when that medium changes, well, the speed of light changes as well. More specifically, when light goes through a less dense medium like air, it travels quite fast. But once that medium changes into something more dense like water, well, then light can bend. And when light bends because of the speed change, we call that refraction. So, definition-wise, what is refraction? Well, refraction refers to the bending of light as it travels from one medium to another medium, both of them which have different densities. Light changes speed when it enters a different material, which causes the change in direction, or the bend as we would see it. You see refraction every day, right? When you put your straw in a drink and it appears to bend in the water, that's the light in your eyes being refracted. Objects underwater look closer than they are, and rainbows form through water droplets. All of these are examples of refraction in our everyday lives. Now, refraction occurs because light travels at different speeds in different materials, and when there's a different speed, your frequency and wavelengths are also modified as well, specifically the frequency. So in a vacuum, light will travel about 3.00 times 10 to the 8 meters per second, but it'll slow down in air, water, glass, and other transparent materials. The main idea here is that the denser the material, the slower the light travels through it. And what that means is your light will bend farther away from the normal line. Now, using green light here, half the container is filled with air and the other half is filled with water. And we can see that the light bends in a different way when it changes the medium. This happens with the red light as well. And this is because light changes speed as it goes through different mediums, which changes the wavelength. Now, the mathematical law that describes this phenomenon is something called Snell's law. And this tries to show you the relationship between the angles of incidence and the speed at which light travels in, as characterized by this formula. Now, the N's, so N1 and N2, they are called the index of refraction. And what the index of refraction refers to is the number, or what it is it's a number that tells you how much light slows down compared to light in a vacuum. So we take light in a vacuum, which is about 3.00 times 10 to the 8 meters per second, and then we compare it to how fast light goes in this medium. The ratio of that gives us this N value. The theta, so theta 1 and theta 2, are the angles of incidence and the angles of refraction. All of that, of course, is with reference to that normal line, that dotted line that you see in the image here. N1 is the incident, or sorry, I should say theta 1 would be the incident ray of where the light was originally shot from. And then theta 2 refers to the refracted ray, both of which are compared to the normal line, but they're on opposite sides. The main idea here is that when light enters a denser medium, it bends towards the normal. When it enters a less dense medium, it bends away from the normal line. And remember that the normal line is perpendicular to both surfaces and their interface. Now, it's important to understand that Snell's law, which looks at angles and speed and wavelength, are connected through that index of refraction, right? That N value. The index of refraction, like we said previously, it's the ratio between light speed in a vacuum and how fast light is going in that material. When light enters a denser medium, it slows down, so the wavelength decreases. And remember that it's going to bend more towards the normal. The shorter wavelength causes light to bend more, which Snell's law describes mathematically. Now together, both the wavelengths, the index of refraction, and the angles of incidence and refraction all come together to give us this full formula over here, where V1 and V2 are the speeds that light is going through, and lambda 1 and lambda 2 are the wavelengths of the reflected light and the refracted light. And N2 and N1 refer to the ratio of the speeds of light as it goes through different mediums. Let's take a look at a couple of examples and see how this works in terms of a calculation. So the first thing that I like to do with these questions is draw the diagram of how or where the light is coming from and where it ends up in terms of the refraction on the other side. So we got diamond, where the light goes through first and then it exits through the air. Now here in this diagram, we actually should have the angle of refraction in reference to the normal line, not the x-axis. So just make sure when you're doing it that you're always doing it with reference to the normal line and not the x-axis. Now, what we want is the angle of incidence, right? So that's the angle that the original ray shot through the diamond. So we're going to use Snell's law formula here, and we're going to isolate for theta 1. And so remember that N1 sine theta 1 is for diamond, and then the second portion is for air. And so using the absolute refractive indexes on this table here, which was found using sodium yellow light, we're going to plug in the values, so the refractive index of diamond, and then as well the refractive index for air, and then we're going to isolate for our theta 1. And since this is a sine function, remember you have to inverse it to get the actual angle of incidence. And so after inversing, we get an angle of incidence of about 10 degrees, and that represents the angle that the light hits the first medium with. So just like in the previous question, I'm going to begin by drawing the simulation of what this problem is saying. So we go from air to some sort of transparent material. We don't know exactly what kind of material it is, but I have an incident ray going through A at about 20 degrees to the normal. And then the angle of refraction is 17 degrees from the normal there, so from that vertical dotted line. And so we're going to use the index of refraction for air. And again, applying Snell's law, we're going to get the index of refraction for the transparent material, since we know the angle of refraction and the angle of incidence. And so applying the formula, we're going to isolate for N2. And when we do this carefully, and again, I'm dividing both sides by sine 17 degrees here, we should get a value of about 1.3. So because we're dealing with both angles and wavelength, the general form of Snell's law is going to apply, and I'm going to write that here. Let me just switch to the pen, which is going to be sine theta of the incident ray over the angle of the refracted ray, which is going to be equal to the speed of the first light ray divided by the speed of the second light ray. And then we continue as follows. Now, this will be a two-step calculation. So we're going to take the first part with the theta's angle of incidence and the angle of refraction and the two index of refraction section. And we're going to assume that the first medium is in air, and that's because, well, they didn't really tell us anything else, but it is likely that it was shot from the air to the quartz glass because the air is the most encompassing thing. Otherwise, we would tell you specifically. So here, when I draw the diagram, I have air coming in at an angle of, or light through air coming in at an angle of 25 degrees, and then it's going to refract as it enters the quartz. We're then going to proceed to use the Snell's law formula, and we're going to isolate first for the angle of refraction for the quartz. So that's theta 2 that we want here. So I'm going to plug in all my values, which I get from the chart and from the question itself in terms of the angle of incidence, and then we're going to isolate for theta. And when we take the inverse of sine, we end up getting an angle of refraction of 16.7 degrees. And since quartz is a denser medium, then that makes sense that it is more towards the normal than the angle of incidence would be. Now, for the next part, we're going to get wavelength. Now, the light wavelength entering the quartz would be 737 nanometers, so that would be lambda 1. And what we're going to do is we're going to isolate for lambda 2 to get the wavelength when light actually hits the quartz glass. And so plugging in all the values, where I'm going to use the index of refraction for both quartz and air. And then we're going to isolate for lambda 2, which would be the wavelength for the quartz glass here. After plugging in the numbers carefully and doing the algebra, we get a wavelength of the light when it's in the quartz glass of about 501 nanometers. Now for this next one, I want you to pause the video and try this out yourself, then unpause it and see if you got something similar or the same answer as the solution.